All right, Season 3 of Street Fighter 6 is on the horizon. It should be coming in the next month or two. So, as always, it's time for me to make a wish list of changes. But this one's going to be a little different from my previous ones. So, usually, I do a big list of changes to every character. But today, I'm actually going to be focusing solely on how I would change this game's system mechanics. Because I think very little has changed about Street Fighter 6 on like a system level since the game first came out. Pretty much the only major change since day one is they added wake up drive reversal. Other than that, they've made a couple of tiny tweaks, but they've never really changed anything that addresses the core like gameplay flow. I'm going to try and offer my suggestions. As always, this is just my opinion. Your opinions may differ. It probably will. And also, I should add that this is a wish list of things that I would change and not a prediction of what I think Capcom will do. I very much doubt the things that I'm about to suggest are what Capcom is going to do in Season 3, but yeah, we'll see. Also, if you guys could hit that subscribe button down there, I would appreciate that a lot, and let's get into the real video now. Okay, so we're going to go through each mechanic one by one here, and I'm going to show you my suggested changes, and we're going to start with drive parry. And you might be surprised to find out, no changes. You probably didn't see that one coming. That's a bit surprising, but I'm not making any changes to regular parry. Hold on before you click off. I'm making a separate segment here for perfect parry. Regular parry, I think, doesn't need any changes to it. There are some changes, but they will be in other segments, so just hold on. Perfect parry is going to get specific changes, and I've been thinking about this a lot recently, because spoiler alert, later in this list, we're going to get rid of throw loops. I should add that at the beginning. We'll get into the detail of that later on, how I'm going to remove throw loops, but throw loops are getting removed in my dream list. So that does mean we need to nerf perfect parry to accommodate that. Like, I think perfect parry would probably be too strong without throw loops in the game. So what I'm going to do is this. Supers performed in a perfect parry combo have their minimum scaling decreased to 10%, 20%, and 30%. Now, let me explain what this means if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm going to jump back into the game real quick. When you end a combo with a super in this game, these supers have a guaranteed minimum amount of damage. So, in the case that it is right now, if I do a long combo like this, and then save a state there. If I end this combo with a super, the way that it works right now is that even once the combos hit like maximum damage scaling, level 1s will always do 30% of their base damage, level 2s will always do 40% of their base damage, and level 3s will always do 50% of their base damage. And that's fine for regular combos, I think. That works pretty well for this game's regular combo structure. But I think it causes problems with perfect parry, specifically, because I think the whole point of perfect parry is that it's supposed to give you an extremely low damage combo because of how rewarding it is to perfect parry something as low risk as like a jab. But unfortunately, because supers and particularly level 3s always do at least 50% of their base damage, I still think the damage output from perfect parry combos is too high, and that makes the game too unstable. So like, let's say that I perfect parry, reuse crouch jab. Like, usually in Street Fighter games, jabs should be like the lowest risk thing you can possibly do. But like, if I randomly end up landing a perfect parry by accident on like a jab, I can do this much damage. And this is without CA. This is just regular level 3. And this does nearly 42% of your health because I randomly tapped parry in response to a 4-frame move, which I think is too much. Like, I don't think you should be in a kill range because you press jab with 40% of your health left. I think that's a bit much. So my first perfect parry nerf would be that rather than being 30, 40, and 50% base damage scaling, if it starts from a perfect parry, it should be 10, 20, and 30%. A max damage perfect parry combo would end up doing about 25% of your health off a jab, which is still a lot. But it makes the game a little bit less unpredictable on final round situations. Okay, so we're moving on to Drive Rush, everyone's favorite high IQ movement mechanic. I'm just going to separate these out a little bit. Remove, delete. You guys love Drive Rush, huh? Okay, I'm making quite a few changes to Drive Rush here. So number one, and this is something that I think everyone has been suggesting, forced punish counter state. So basically, pretty simple. If you are in the middle of a drive rush and you get hit out of that drive rush, you are going to be punish countered regardless. Even if you don't press a button, even if you're just in the movement stage of the drive rush, you are in a forced punish counter. That's number one. Number two, enlarged hurt box during drive rush. I think this would also be useful because right now checking drive rush can be very inconsistent. Just to show you guys how bad the hurt boxes are right now on drive rush. Have you guys seen this before? This is probably the most egregious example. If you guys have ever wondered why sometimes you try and check Zangief's drive rush and your move just whiffs, this is why. This is Zangief's hurt box during his drive rush. Like, most characters aren't quite this misaligned, but the fact that the entire front half of his body has absolutely no hurt box when he's running at you makes checking drive rush very, very annoying. So I think most characters should just have like a significantly larger hurt box during their drive rush. All right. And the final change to drive rush that I want to make here is this. Normals performed out of a drive rush gain an additional 5 frames of recovery on whiff only. Probably the best example of this is DJ. Like, how many times have you guys been playing against the DJ player? You reposition yourself to try and make their YOLO drive rush whiff, and they do like this, and then they press another button. Like, you try it, they whiff their drive rush, and then they just counter hit you with like a button right afterwards. Like, I'm sure you guys have all experienced this exact situation. Drive rush whiff jab into button, which I think is a bit much. So basically all I'm saying is that if you drive rush at your opponent and you successfully make contact, nothing would change. So if you space your drive rush approach properly, nothing changes. The only thing that changes is that if you whiff a button out of drive rush like that, I think it should gain about 5 frames of extra whiff recovery. Okay, so those are the drive rush changes. Okay, drive impact. No changes. DI is absolutely fine the way it is, I think. I have absolutely no criticism of DI as a mechanic. I think it's, like, pretty useful in some situations. It's annoying when you get hit by it, obviously. Like, random DI can be a bit frustrating. But I think it's, like, pretty well balanced as it is right now. It's not useless, and it's not overpowered. It's just, I think it's just right. So right now, I think drive reversal is probably the weakest drive mechanic in the game. But that being said, all of my other changes to the drive system are designed to tone down offense. So I'm actually kind of hesitant to buff drive reversal too much when you take into account all of this other stuff. So I'm going to keep it at -6. I'm not going to change too much about it. The only change I'm going to make to drive reversal here is I am going to reduce the startup of block stun drive reversal to match wake up drive reversal. So they'll both be, what is it, 18 frames? Yeah, 18 frames. This just means if you drive reversal someone doing like low forward drive rush, you're less likely for them to just block the drive reversal in pressure. And also it's just, I think it's just good design for both versions of drive reversal to have the same startup. I think it's very weird right now that there are 2 different drive reversals you can do right now, and one of them is 2 frames faster than the other. That's just not very intuitive. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people in chat didn't even know that they had different startups, which goes to show that it's not a very elegant, like, mechanic right now. That's the only change to drive reversal. Okay, and the last section I'm going to have here, and this is kind of what I was building up towards, is throws. I'm sure you guys have all seen the recent Diaphone video. Throw loops seem to be the topic at the moment, especially right after Capcom cut. I've been preaching the throw loops have to go Bible for a long time, so I'm glad to see it seems like public opinion is definitely changing a lot. All throws now leave you about half a dash's distance away and +10 knockdown advantage. So to give you an idea of what that means, I'll just jump back into the game real quick. I'm not going to be too specific here because I don't want to go character by character about how they should all be positioned after a throw. But generally speaking, I think you should be about +10 after a throw and about here. This distance right here. And the reason for that is that +10 would mean that if you try and walk up throw, you would lose to jab. But if you suspect your opponent is going to jab, you can just do this and then, you know, counter hit them and they explode. So the game would still have strong pressure after a throw. You just have to actually condition your opponent rather than just doing throw, walk up, throw, walk up, throw. It's very similar to how Chun-Li's Oki works right now, basically. I would also add a, you know how I mentioned earlier that I wasn't going to nerf parry? Well, that's because I've prepared something here. I've also added this. Punish, counter, throws, give you an additional 10 frames of knockdown advantage. So, you thought I was getting rid of throw loops? They're sort of back. Kind of. Not really. The idea being here, obviously, is that if your opponent is mashing parry on wake up, they're mashing parry through your strings, and you land that punish counter throw, rather than being left +10 at this distance, you would be left +20, and that means that you could actually go for a second throw loop. So effectively the idea is that if your opponent is mashing parry, you do still have access to a throw loop. Kind of like how punish counter sweeps work in this game, it would work like this. So you would get legitimate throw into throw Oki on a punish counter, but not if they just take the regular throw. Oh, I should also circle back to another thing that I mentioned earlier. Just to circle back real quick, I mentioned earlier, Drive Rush should be in a forced punish counter state, and there's actually a secret second reason for this. Reason number one is just because I think Drive Rush should have more risk. Throwing out random Drive Rush in neutral should be riskier. But reason number two is I think we need to get rid of the stupid DROS that you do on defense. So there is a situation that happens all the time in this game. Yeah, this situation. You will see this interaction all the time in this game at high level, because let me explain what's happening here. So, as the defending DJ player in this situation, I get knocked down and I go for a perfect parry. And normally, if I'm wrong about this read and I go for the parry, theoretically this is what should happen. I should be punished for my incorrect defensive decision and I get punish counter thrown. But what actually happens is that most players will hold parry for a split second and then transition into a drive rush. And by doing this, like that, you still get thrown, like you still get caught by the throw. But because drive rush is not a forced punish counter, the throw becomes a regular counter hit. And that's really important because punish counter throws do a lot of damage and they also take a bar of drive away from the opponent. But DROS is actually less damage and less drive lost. And there's also a small chance that you might successfully just do this and get like a random jab. Like, it's very scrambly. You guys like the OS? The OS would still exist. The only difference is, if you did the OS and you still got thrown, this would be a punish counter throw rather than a counter hit throw. I just think that this is necessary to stop people just doing Drive Rush OS on Wake Up 24/7 to avoid getting punish countered with the new changes that I've made. I just think it's necessary with the system changes. It's one of those Wake Up options that I believe adds spice to the Wake Up game. It doesn't really add any spice though. There's no complexity here. You're just like guessing on a perfect parry. Your guess was incorrect and then you just yeet at the opponent. Like, is that really like a high-level mind game? Just like, oh, I fucked up my wake-up parry. I guess I better just launch myself at the opponent to not get punish counter thrown. So, it's just my opinion. The OS can stay, but you should just get punish countered if you get thrown out of Drive Rush. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, you guys might disagree. Some people in chat seem to disagree with this one, but I think this is how I would change the system mechanics. Now, obviously, before you say it, yes, there would also need to be character changes to accommodate this, because the sum total effect of all of these changes, basically, is that offensive rushdown characters are hurt by this more than defensive zoning characters. Like, I do have to acknowledge that. So, characters like Guile, JP, these kinds of characters whose game plan is not about getting in your face and killing you, would benefit more than the rest of the cast. So obviously there would need to be character changes to adjust for the system changes, which I'm not going to do today. But yeah, that's just, I want to just acknowledge that before someone hits me with the, wouldn't this make Guile overpowered? Anyway, like I said, these are just my opinions. I'm sure you guys have your own. Maybe let me know down in the comments section below. And I will see you guys all in the next video.